What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good day. I'm gonna wait for everybody to get in for about 15 seconds, and in that time I'm gonna stretch real quick, and I'm gonna remind everybody at work, at home, on the job, whatever you're doing, take a second to stretch real quick and drink some water. Those are two things that people forget to do, including myself, when we're busy. So once again, if you're watching this, if you're in early, stretch and drink some water. Those are two important things for the body that we all forget because we get so busy. So everyone's in. Thanks for joining. The US, Iran, and Syria are clashing in the Middle East for the first time, and it's important for many different reasons. I'm going to start with what's going on, and then I'm going to say why it's important. What's going on with Iran is that they shot missiles into Syria for the first time in 15 years. It's the first time in 15 years that they've shot missiles in general. So Iran shot missiles into Syria, and the reports that I read are that they hit ISIS. But excuse me for being a little skeptical, because we've heard lies from Syria in the Middle East for 10 plus years now. So it's literally at the point, even with all the extensive research I do, I'm still not completely sure what's going on, because I have very credible sources saying two different things. So Iran shot missiles into Syria, apparently hitting ISIS, and the United States in the last 48 hours shot down an Iranian drone. So Iran sent a drone in, and the United States shot it down and said that it posed a threat of some sort. Of course, shooting down another country's drones would escalate tensions. And as far as Russia has sided with the Syrian regime. Bashar al-Assad is the president of Syria, and the United States, we have long said that we want to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. We overthrew Saddam Hussein, we overthrew Gaddafi in Libya, and our next target was Bashar al-Assad. We said he's using chemical weapons on his people, he's a madman, and the reports have been very conflicted. A lot of the mainstream reports have said that Syria has used chemical weapons on its people multiple times. A lot of other credible sources have said, you know what, some of them have been false flags. They've been chemical attacks from outside that have been blamed on him to further an agenda, and it's really hard to tell the truth. I've talked to people in Syria, I've talked to a lot of people in Syria that love Bashar al-Assad, and they say, anomaly, you know, Bashar al-Assad, he's a good president, we support him, he's our president. That's what Tulsi Gabbard has said as well. She says she supports Bashar al-Assad, but other credible sources I know that have family in Syria or have lived in Syria say Bashar al-Assad is a bad man. So it's kind of just like a situation of, you know, what would be better, leaving someone alone or leaving a power vacuum where terror groups and madness can just take over. So that's what's been happening in Syria. And then at a certain point, Russia joined the Syrian army essentially and allied with Syria. So Russian and Putin have allied with Syria and Bashar al-Assad, to the point where now if we attack Russia, we're escalating tensions with Russia. A lot of credible sources to me have told me, anomaly, this whole thing's over a pipeline. There's a big pipeline with oil in Syria, and that's what this is over. It's just a proxy war over oil. I believe it. I haven't done enough research, and like I said, there's so many reports going out, it's hard to know what's going on. It's hard to know what's even going on in our own neighborhoods and communities, let alone what's going on in Syria, because some of the credible sources, like the white helmets, everyone's like, oh, the white helmets are going there to save the day. A lot of people in Syria say the white helmets are complete liars, they're frauds, they're funded operation. So, to be honest, I don't even know anymore. But what I do know is that reports are saying that tensions are escalating between the US, Russia, and Syria, and it's leveling up to be an all-out brawl. While I stay optimistic, you know, I think that tensions will ease down. It's really hard to see what's going on, because you have the Obama administration gave over $1 billion to Iran. They gave Iran over $1 billion and said, hey, don't build nuclear weapons here. We'll swap prisoners, you know, get our prisoners back, and we'll give you $1 billion if you relax. So now we're essentially almost attacking Iran. Trump has a very different tone in Iran. He says that deal is terrible. Iran is homing terrorists. You know, his rhetoric is very, very, very strong against Iran. And even that is confusing, because he calls Iran, saying they're homing terrorists, which could be true, but then he sells arms to Saudi Arabia. We have an air base in Qatar, however you say it. So it's all very confusing. We're selling weapons one way, we're calling some people terrorists, and now we're fighting with Russia. And Russia and Iran, they're both making statements saying, especially Russia, if you shoot down our airplane again, we're going to shoot down yours if we see them. It's the beginning of a possible war. And I mean, it's important for multiple reasons. War is always important and it's somewhat notable, but I think to the crowd that doesn't really pay attention, no offense, but you know, watches CNN, watches MSNBC, watches Twitter and Facebook, and just stays in their own little bubble, they don't even know all of this exists. In their reality, it's like it's completely missing. And I want to say, regardless of what news source you watch, a lot of the mainstream news sources just conduct a circus. They just run people in circles. They say, oh, they might have hacked the election, they might have did this, they might have done that, they did this, they did that. And meanwhile, everybody's running in circles like, I hate Trump, I love Trump, you know, get him out, impeach him, like blah, 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 I love Hillary Clinton. And it's just running in circles while reality is going to set in, because we're actually on the brink of possibly fighting Russia. We've already done stuff that could be considered an act of war towards Russia, and the mainstream media in our country is still promoting the story of Trump collaborated with Russia, even though it's a known fact that the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton's Secretary of State Department signed off on an over $100 million deal to sell 20% of the United States uranium to Russia. So the biggest collaborators with Russia is Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. It's just a fact. The Trump administration is fighting Russia, and his military, the U.S. military now, during the Trump presidency, is increasing tensions. It's the first time we shot down an aircraft, that Russia didn't want. It's the first time we've shot down an Iranian drone. It's the first time Iran shot missiles into Syria. It's a big deal, but you'll never hear it on the media because they just literally make things up. I don't know anymore, and I'm calm, I'm cool with it, my life is good. I'm just ignoring all the insanity because I would drive myself crazy if I didn't. I don't know if I'm living in North Korea or the United States of America. I could tell because I'm very free and I'm very blessed to do what I want, but when it comes to the propaganda that's being pushed on half of America, I can't tell if it's North Korea or not, because there's literally tens of millions of people walking around saying, impeach Trump, Trump's working with Russia, and the United States is currently on the brink of war with Russia, doing exactly what Hillary Clinton said she would do with Russia, and also escalating tensions with Russia more than it's been in 16 years. I don't know the last time that we've been this close to war with Russia, and we've been trying to talk about it for a year. Conservatives have mentioned it, progressives have mentioned it, Green Party, Jill Stein has mentioned it. Everybody knows this, except for a small select people, which is, large depending how many people you're measuring, but they follow MSNBC, they follow CNN, they follow whoever, and none of this exists to them because they're literally being fed fake news. And I don't know a nice way to say it. I've made a bunch of videos. I do it in my free time because I love it and I feel like it's important now, but what else is there to do if we're on the brink of war with Russia and Iran, and you have millions of people who still think the most important thing to do is watch a Russian council hearing that is the most bizarre and clearly rigged thing that I've ever seen in modern history as far as trying to get a president impeached. They think it's important to watch the Russia council like the Super Bowl, more important than sex and human trafficking, more important than the war in Syria between Russia and Iran, more important than Yemen and Somalia and Pakistan and Afghanistan and Iraq, and the fact that we're increasing and escalating tensions in certain parts of those regions. To the social justice warriors of today, and to the feminists, and to the Hillary Clinton supporters, and to the left or whatever, I don't use labels. To me, people are just people, but there's tens of millions of people who don't care about human trafficking. They don't care that kids are getting swiped up and put into sex slavery at the ages of 3 years old. And there's millions of people trying to talk about it, but they don't want to hear it because they're watching some conspiracy theory that the news has put together to distract people. And there's been a lot of distractions throughout the past 10 years, because no one has known what's going on in general. Once we got led into Iraq after 9/11, our cloud kind of shrouded that. We don't know what's going on. We have no idea. All we know is we got to go to Iraq. We got to get Saddam or Bin Laden or whoever. That's all we know. So I think it's a wake-up call. The Trump presidency is a wake-up call. This escalating tensions is a wake-up call in the nicest way I could say it, because no matter how much you ignore the truth, no matter how much you ignore the reality, no matter how many times you believe lies and believe fake stories and believe fake news, reality is going to happen anyway. You not caring about it is not going to stop 2-year-olds from not getting raped. They're still getting raped and put into sex slavery, whether you think it's a conspiracy theory or not. The war with Russia and the tensions between Russia are either going to increase or decrease, whether you pay attention to it or not, whether you care about it or not. It's not going to go away because it's really happening outside of the fake news that you intake every day. It's just the truth. And I'm a little disgusted by websites like Twitter. Every single day they post fake news, fake political news, links from fake news sources and fake stories. Twitter is a huge perpetrator. I love Twitter. I use it as a platform, but all they do is push division and hate and fake stories. And today they have this racial story of a white woman from Canada that said, "I want a white doctor." Okay, that lady sucks. Like, I don't know how that happened or that story, because I didn't click on it, but okay, we have a woman that said something rude and ignorant. Why are you broadcasting that to your whole audience? So now you have a huge racial division. All Twitter does is push racial division. They posted the story of the Muslim woman who got killed by an American, which is terrible. This poor, beautiful little girl got killed by a murder in the United States. It's an awful, awful story, but Twitter's blasting that with no context of how it happened or what happened. So Twitter's blowing up. They're saying, oh my, and keep in mind, nobody's talking about Iran or Russia and Syria. So they're talking, oh my goodness, this is so terrible. See what Islamophobia is doing. But then the story progressed, and the person who killed the innocent Muslim girl, teenager, was an illegal immigrant. And then all of a sudden the story disappears because it doesn't fit their narrative of dividing and racially dividing and blaming it on Trump. The second that it's like, oh, it's an illegal immigrant who killed, they hide the story. And you wonder why conservatives are mad and Trump supporters are mad and Republicans are mad. And you wonder why progressives and Democrats and social justice warriors are mad. It's because websites like Twitter, all they do is lie, push fake news, and then push divisive stories. And the second the story isn't divisive, they're like, let's get rid of it because this could actually unite people for a common cause. There's no stories about doctors helping people. Lil Wayne told a great story. Lil Wayne was on ESPN, and Lil Wayne said, racism doesn't exist in my reality. And they all got mad at him and said, what are you talking about? You're an asshole, you're racist. And Lil Wayne said, a lot of my fans are white. He said, a white doctor saved my life. Why don't they ever show that story of Lil Wayne, a white doctor saving someone's life, or an African-American man saving someone's life, or, a Latino doing something positive, or a Latino who is illegal, who got his citizenship, who did something great? Why don't we hear those stories? Because they're all over the place. Why don't we hear about all the religions and races and genders and cultures getting along? Sites like Twitter, all they do is push divisive stories and fake news. Facebook, I can't say anything about, honestly, because my platform's doing well on Facebook. They've never bothered me. I don't think Facebook is that bad personally, but the flow of information is totally being controlled and manipulated to the point where you have millions of people fighting, millions of leaders telling people, oh, be divisive, hate everybody else, hate yourself, hate your skin color, hate other people's skin color. And that's becoming a cultural norm. When I hang out, with people who are, in their early 20s, it's just like, oh, they've been like manipulated to hate themselves, to hate their skin color, to feel guilty, to be racist to other people and think they're not racist. Like, it's so strange to me, the division that's being pushed. And it's no surprise that people don't know what's going on in Syria. They don't know that the United States is fighting Russia while the news says that we're working with Russia. It couldn't be more of a distraction. And it's not just the news too. There's a lot of factors that go into it. President Trump could do a lot better job to do certain things. But in general, when you have a nation that's controlled by music and movies and TV and the news, and when it's blasted out, enough people talk about it and believe it, we are part of the problem. We need to do a better job. We need to help our communities. We need to know what's going on and either do something about it or ignore it because we can't do anything about it, and find a way to positively impact the world. We have everybody running in circles. The biggest environmentalists and social justice warriors and liberals, they don't even talk about these wars. Like, it doesn't even exist to them. They don't talk about a lot of the pressing issues. And then you have a conservative side that a lot of them, not all of them, are more focused on fighting people than figuring out a way to link and communicate. And it's all sides are guilty of it. Some sides are being worse than others now, and some sides are just completely ignoring reality, like Iran and Russia and the US. Tensions aren't increasing in Syria. Why isn't this a major news story? Because it shatters almost every other news story they've pushed for the entire year. If they told you that the US was fighting Russia and that Hillary Clinton funded Russia, their whole narrative would collapse and nobody would watch their news networks. But it's already happening now anyway because the internet's taking over. And I want to end on a positive note. I want to say, regardless of how religious or spiritual or scientific you are, I think there's a bigger picture happening here on earth. And I think it's happening for the better because against all odds, we have all this technology. We've had nuclear bombs for a very long time now. We've had ways that people can hack power grids and hack banks and hack money systems, and all of our system is so fragile. The system that humanity runs on is so fragile. But every day, day after day, I wake up, the sun is shining, life is good, and it's still moving on. So I want to say on a positive note, whether you're religious, spiritual, or scientific, there's clearly something great going on. The fact that all of this madness is happening, these crazy wars, all of this, tension that's like bubbling to the point where at any moment, any country could lose it and do something wrong, and then another country could retaliate. Either our leaders are calm enough and sensible enough to not take it to that extreme point, or there's something greater going on here for the better, because we're truly blessed to live in one of the most incredible eras to ever be alive. We have technology, we have food at our service, we have delivery service, Uber and Lyft. It's the greatest time to be alive. And against all odds, every single day, life continues moving forward. So I want to leave it on that note. Thank you guys for joining. If you want to donate to the movement, link below. I got a lot of very exciting things going on. I believe I'm going to be starting a podcast with my friends from Underground Hip Hop Blog. They have a location, a setup. We're going to put it together, do a huge podcast. I'm going to get everybody on. I'm going to get health experts. I'm going to get political people on the left and the right, anybody who's legendary. I want discussion flowing. I'm going to get hip hop artists, music artists, celebrities, anybody that has something to say that a good conversation could come. We're going to get that started soon. Rare Talk with Anomaly. Thank you guys so much for supporting. Once again, my link will be below if you want to donate to the movement. We're more powerful than a lot of news sources with 1/1000th of the budget, 1/10,000th of the budget. So thank you guys. Your donations mean a lot. And even with the smallest amount of resources and money available, I can make it happen. I don't need that much to live. You can see I don't even have stuff on my walls yet because it's not a priority. I'm more focused on just being healthy, happy, and keeping things flowing. I'll get a picture here soon. I know people said it's blank, but whatever, it's not that big of a deal. Thank you guys again. One more thing, if anybody knows Spanish or any other language, if you're watching Spanish, if you're watching any language at all, and you'd be willing to make subtitles in that language on some of my big videos, the shorter ones that are just popular so it doesn't take you that long, let me know. That would be amazing. I want to get Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, whatever, any language. If you watch and know any other language and can translate it, let's do that. And also, people had emailed me about the subtitles. Whoever emailed me about that, just keep the conversation flowing, because a lot of people reached out, but the conversation kind of died off. So I need someone that really wants to do English subtitles as well for a series of like 5 or 10 videos, maybe less. Let's get it cracking. Let's get working. I'm going to put my link to my website here as well, legendary.vision, so you can email me there if you have something you want to add, if you want to sponsor the podcast, if you want to sponsor this in a certain way. And I'm going to put my donor box link below. Jacqueline, I see that. Hit me up if you think you could do subtitles or would want to. It would be excellent, and I think it would just be cool to get the conversation flowing in different languages. Thank you guys. Have a good day. Enjoy yourself. Don't give in to the negativity. Don't give in to the division. Don't give in to the stress. Don't give in to the fake news. Just go out into the real world, show some love, get the conversation started, and put out good energy. All right, have a good one.